All right, we'll get started right now. So yeah, welcome everyone. This is AILA's first special interest group for the year. We're talking about today AI and decentralized finance. And so we've got amazing two experts who will be giving some a 10 to 15 minute presentation about their work and their company. And then after that, we'll go into a fireside chat with Lisa Yu. And so pretty exciting stuff going on. So for housekeeping rules, please everyone keep your microphones and videos off. Right now we are recording, so we will be posting this on our YouTube channel afterwards. So you don't have to take notes if you don't need to. Yeah, we'll be running through this. If you have any questions or anything comes up, just use the chat and we can address that during the talk. And then of course, during the fireside chat, there'll be plenty of opportunity for you to ask questions and be able to, again, get some answers from our panelists. And so without further ado, I think we will start off with Imge. Sorry, how do I pronounce it? Imgesu, right?
Imgesu.
Imgesu, perfect. Yeah, I will practice that. Then after that, we will have Chris Poulin speak, and then we'll go into the fireside chat. And so I will just go off screen now and hand it over to you.
Yeah, let me present. I need just a second to, I can screen share, right? So, okay. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, so the DeFi trends presentation, right?
Correct, yes.
Yes, perfect. So, hi everybody. I am Imge Cetin and I'm the CEO of DeFi Trends. I'm originally a data scientist. I graduated grad school from UCSD, so not far away from LA. I specialized in machine learning algorithms and I created actually an NLP package together with my professor at UCSD about topic modeling. So NLP is my passion. Previously I worked, while I was in grad school, I worked in electric vehicles, and then I moved on to work at the UN as a lead data scientist, working at the IOM, so the International Organization for Migration. And I built out the proprietary system for policymakers to make data-backed policy decisions using big data. So using web analytics, social media analytics, so they can essentially track migration around the world in real time. So it's really close to what I do in my company. So I just wanted to give a little bit of the backstory of it. And what we would do is essentially use different querying methodologies from the web to nowcast, see where hotspots around the world, migration related keywords were being searched, and then essentially use it as an additive variable to increase accuracy in prediction models, as well as have simple forecasts in the search trends to see essentially if we would see an influx or an outflux of migration to a given country. And while this seems quite easy, it's very difficult. No one has done this in a global scale, and I was the first one to do it on a global scale. There was only country-specific ones. And then how did I apply this to my company, and how does this apply to AI? Crypto. I've been personally investing in crypto since 2017. And I found that there were no tools in the current market that would allow me to make better investment decisions and make data-backed investment decisions. There were only very in-depth data sets or just not really robust tools that I could use. So I took different APIs, big data, and I created my own tool where I could see where the market was going. So that was the essence of how this company started, me building out a prototype for a tool for me to make better investment decisions. And then since lots of people showed interest that they needed tools in crypto, and as the incredible sector started becoming more mainstream, as you know, we got a lot of interest. And yeah, we'll talk about it in the presentation about the opportunity of crypto. So what DeFi Trends is a simplified Bloomberg terminal for digital assets. So this includes crypto and NFTs, and we're a toolkit that aggregates 1 million data points into these digestible bite-sized indicators, so you can get a holistic view of the market in one place. So we're bringing all the puzzles together. So this means on-chain analytics. And for those who don't know what on-chain analytics is for crypto, is essentially the blockchain, which is not altered, is all recorded essentially on the ledger. So we can go in and collect this data, and we know that it is not biased and it's reliable. So that's a very important aspect to tell everyone. As a data scientist, a lot of our shortcomings with using big data and social media data is querying methodology. And we'll go a little bit into that when I talk about it. In blockchain data, it is not alterable, so it's easier to create these indicators that we're doing and say that they're more reliable. And a couple of these metrics would be like hodling, are people on the blockchain, on a particular blockchain, since there are so many different blockchains, are they holding it? Are they building on top of it? So we want to allow our users to understand how well this blockchain essentially is doing. And what does this mean? So why are we doing this? It's a toolkit for investors, asset managers, enterprises, so they can make better informed decisions in digital assets. And yeah, so let me go and show you guys. So it's everything that you would need in one dashboard. We create sentiment analysis, on-chain analysis, and sentiment analysis. On-chain, I briefly explain. Sentiment analysis, imagine we are scraping and querying everything on the web. So this can include news, social media, all the social media, so Twitter, Telegram, YouTube, Discord, Reddit, the main ones especially, and then creating them all into a database. From this database, we create funnels to see from each given project. So it could be about not that project, but coin, we'll say, whatever you like to refer to, its sentiment, public opinion on it. So a lot of companies do this. For example, Cambridge Analytica had a huge scandal about this to get public opinion. And what we do is through these funnels, we create a sentiment analysis to say, oh yeah, the public is bearish or bullish about a given company. So this is really important for you to know what is happening in the market at all times. Not only is it for sentiment analysis, but we use other NLP algorithms to query news, so you're up to date with everything. But I'll explain a little bit what kind of AI we use. And then fundamental analysis. So what is the project? It's white paper, really understanding what this project is doing. Just to give you a little bit of background, we also do NFT analytics as well. We provide the on-chain and the market analytics for NFTs. And then most importantly, our value add is the social sentiment for NFTs as well. So what does the public say? And just as a fun, interesting point, after we conducted lots of statistical tests with crypto versus NFTs on the optimal lag between, so you know what an optimal lag is, from when someone would talk about an NFT versus like tweet about an NFT or announce this project versus when people would buy it. It is the shortest amount of time compared to crypto. So I found that very interesting. It was actually, the lag was like 2 days. So people are fast action with NFTs, and it's very hot right now. Everyone's talking about NFTs. So we also provide these analytics on NFTs as well. Yeah, we also provide education because this is a newly emerging space, and we want everyone to understand. We have this learn to earn model that we're actually partnering up with our partners that I'll show at the end, which is Avalanche, Celo, Near Protocol, and Polygon, who are layer 1 and Polygon is layer 2. So layer 1 is the blockchain. So we're partnering up with them. We're creating these educational modules and then partnering up with the layer 1. So, what does this blockchain essentially do? What is even a blockchain? Like, we explain everything to our users so they really understand what the underlying technology is, and essentially understand the space. So I will, tell you essentially what our platform helps you do. So it helps you spot new investment opportunities, compare coins to one another, essentially do due diligence on coins with public opinion, understand the on-chain, understand the fundamentals. And if you don't know the underlying technology, you can learn about it. You can scan the news in one glance and dive deeper with research. So all the tools, the picks and axes of the crypto revolution, so you really understand what you're doing. And yeah, I explained myself, so I won't go on this slide. And just to give you a description about the crypto space, and it's booming. These results are maybe 6 months ago or maybe 5 months ago when we were making this intro slide, and it was 300 million people own crypto today, and 34% of them are American and are planning on buying crypto within the next 5 years. And this, imagine, is from a survey. If we actually talked about it, if we conducted a more random sample, I think it would be more. I'm not really trusting these results because I really think it's more. And I'm even in Turkey, where in every 10 out of 6 billboards have some exchange or crypto related advertisements. So we can see that we're really in a time where people are really influenced and are thinking about going into crypto, and it's becoming mainstream, and we can see it on TV where 10 out of 8 news are about crypto here, even in Turkey. So what we ask ourselves is what keeps everyone, or retail investors and institutional investors, from entering the crypto space, because this is a good problem to solve, especially for us. So after conducting lots of market research, we found that why isn't everyone in crypto? So it essentially lies in fear and uncertainty, because people don't understand the underlying technology of what cryptocurrencies are, what is the blockchain, what is actually moving the market, which coins to invest in. And so the important thing to make this wave very mainstream and inclusive, we thought of a 3-tier solution through education, through AI forecasting, so tools that use AI, and data analytics. And just a little bit about the things that we do. So I said we do some on-chain and off-chain analytics. So what essentially we look at is the protocol interactions and new address growth on a particular blockchain. And what this means is there are multiple blockchains, as you know. Actually, it's right now a big problem. I think that there needs to be more barriers to enter for having a layer 1, but the big mainstream layer 1s that I'll just briefly explain, who are actually our partners, which would be like Avalanche, Near, Celo, Tezos, Tezos is not our partner, Tezos, Algorand, Phantom. I'll just name these 6 ones. Those are the ones we're really close with. We provide on-chain metrics for them. And what we also do with them is, which is the off-chain one, is to see for a given blockchain, new projects that build on top of that blockchain, how well are they doing on-chain, as well as in the public's eyes. So how much are people talking about them? Is it a positive or negative sentiment? Other things we also talk about is GitHub scraping. So we scrape if it's open source to see how many contributors there are, community size, engagement. We do for the on-chain hodling metrics, tracking whales, and creating indicators like in, out of the money, which we already have. Yeah, and then we all combine it with this DeFi trend score, which is an aggregate score of the market, which is normalized to a given grouping. So we're creating a score to see the general health of it. We would create multiple metrics and have it normalized to talk about each other. Okay, so now I gave a brief intro, the metrics that we do. What in AI essentially do we use? A lot of people in this space, and I think there was this conversation with my friend who works at Google and lots of friends in crypto. We talk about, and actually with Chris even, if I remember correctly, we talked about everyone saying they do AI, like Nansen.ai as one of our competitors, and definitely not shit talking on a recorded line, but they're not using what we say AI, so artificial intelligence. They're just using data analytics, which is completely different. Not that it's like a different branch, but data is an umbrella, and that's just its own little thing. So what is it that we bring from AI? And what we use is reoccurring neural networks. And if anyone knows, it's usually quite robust. We use that for our forecasts and our predictive models. Takes a little bit of time to train it, but an excellent way of utilizing my previous data science experience. We use NLP for news. And for those, I'm not really actually sure the level of our audience right here, but NLP is natural language processing. It has multiple libraries that you can use. And actually I used one of the libraries I helped with my professor to create, which is a topic modeling library for news. So this would be after, organizing our database with all the relevant news. We would, instead of our users actually reading the news, we use our NLP algorithm to generally give us the topics that are most used in our database. We also use, so this is a really cool feature that I really love. I love recommendation systems. So that we're using. And so I can just give you a brief introduction of how we're using a recommendation system. And a recommendation system is generally, if you see on Spotify, you listen to this music, you listen to this music, we would recommend that you probably listen to this music. So that's just like a brief intro of what I would say and how we utilize it. And from early on, as we launched our first beta, we started collecting what essentially a type of person would would be interested in. Like, this person's interested in more metaverse, and after they click on metaverse, they go into this one. So we're collecting data so we can create a recommendation system. Yeah. And after a person connects their wallet, they can see which assets they have and what they would most likely be interested in. And so the last and most important one that we use AI, this is me coming from my years of experience in the UN, when we were trying to optimize our methodology for querying for migration related keywords to my previous electric vehicle days to now is the methodology for querying using the ML models. So not that there's one way to do this, there's multiple minds and different ways of doing things, but one interesting way of seeing, if a dependent variable, which variables are closely related to the dependent variable would be, for example, a random forest model and doing variable importance plots to see which variables to essentially, are most important to our dependent variables. So we use a lot of different methods to see the importance of variables in our methodology, so we know essentially which type would be the best way of querying. So optimizing our models internally so we have the best results. We essentially use that. I'm also mindful of time. So what we do as a company, not a lot of the competitors in the crypto space are doing. So we have Nansen and Santam and Masari, who are all specializing in different things, but don't provide the aggregate tool set that we're doing, which is the AI component, the on-chain component, and the social sentiment component, and the really simplification of the component too as well. So just so what our mission essentially is to bring crypto to the people, democratize it, as we say. And actually Robinhood Exec is one of our advisors, and that's our kind of common point with Robinhood, is how can we simplify, democratize, make it easily accessible, because we think crypto is right now too either exclusive or too many barriers to enter, and we're really trying to break them down by simplifying UI, which is one of the most important things for mass adoption in crypto. And secondly, to essentially make it very understandable. Instead, as a data scientist, our whole mission in life, and I guess career objective, is to understand data and simplify it, create these models, have results, and then convey it to a non-technical audience. And that is what we have to do to make also these tools accessible for all and make it very inclusive. And we want as many people in crypto to enjoy the benefits as we are. And I think Chris will say the same thing, as we go from limited adoption to super mass adoption. We'll see more tools coming out, more blockchains that are simplified, more interactions, and everything will be easier to use. And as we go through that, we'll see a super mass adoption into Web3 as well. And we actually, me and Chris were on a chat talking about Web2 versus Web3 and data and decentralization. So that's a pretty cool topic. And yeah, so these are some of our backers and partners. And so these are a combination of blockchains, investors, and etc. that we work with. And yeah, I'm Imge. I can write my Twitter, my Telegram, and yeah, my LinkedIn if anyone wants to reach out and ask a question. And if you guys want to join the community, you can do so, and I can share this slide deck or anything. And yeah, this is our Telegram, this is our Medium, and pretty much everywhere is the same. You can add us anywhere. But yeah, that concludes my little presentation. Let me know if you have questions, etc.
Awesome, thank you so much. We will now lead into Chris's presentation.
Can you hear and see me?
We got you, yes.
Great. I'm going to do something a little different. I'm just going to talk to you guys because I probably have too much to discuss anyway. So I will just I'll talk at you, and you can go online and I think the key difference is that in terms of format is that Imge's got obviously a new and exciting offering, which is why we work together. But with SDAO, we've got a variety of websites and a variety of products in different areas. So I guess I'd encourage everybody to sort of go online for that. But I'll sort of talk about at a high level my background, why it might be interesting, and then SingularityDAO and why that might be interesting, and then sort of maybe give you some editorial on the state of things. So the super short version is that I'm an industrial AI guy. I've been doing and I think that that's the best label for AI LA to see me as, in the sense that I have run a lab at Dartmouth. I had done a lot of work with MIT Media Lab and MIT CSAIL back in the 90s and early 2000s. But for the past 20 years, I've been doing industrial end-to-end AI processes. So building a system from concept to production, and then trying to kind of optimize that to solve a particular problem. And so that's been the most exciting thing for me, is that is the problem solving component. And I would say that the tools are always super interesting, right? I'm a tech geek, but the problem solving and the high levels solutioning has been the most exciting thing for me. And the reason I bring that up is only because I think a lot of people are attracted to AI and attracted to crypto and attracted to various technologies for various reasons. And I guess I'm just trying to give you a sense that my North Star is sort of problem solving and building cohesive solutions that solve particular problems. And I think that AI is as everybody on this call believes, is a force multiplier to get that done. So that's basically the high level. I won't bore you guys with details on my resume, other than the fact that I have worked in that mode of problem solving across academia, across Fortune 500 and 3-letter agencies with the government, and I guess DARPA is 5 letters. But anyway, so the point is that basically building solutions in that way. So segue to SingularityDAO. My friend Ben Gertzel and I had been working together for over a decade on machine learning projects, and again, these sort of industrial optimizations. And he knew that one of our common touch points was financial AI, and how he and I had both been partners in, or mostly helped in hedge funds build solutions. Again, that end-to-end sort of mentality. And so I had worked with a lot of hedge funds to build solutions, helped hedge fund advisor friends sort of quantify their methods, apply ML to those methods. And most recently, I was working with the Federal Reserve System to build out a surveillance system in a to try to help them not spy on people. It's all very public, but try to help them surveil the public to figure out if there was existential risks and that sort of thing to the market, which is very much in line with what Imge was doing at the UN. So this was sort of my background, and Ben and his partners Marcello and Mario were starting a spin-off from the SingularityNET ecosystem. So what SingularityNET is SingularityNET is the decentralized version of the AI efforts that Ben has been leading over the past decades, plural. And so the flagship products at SingularityNET tend to be OpenCog and a variety of open source AI tools, which is sort of intentionally, existentially comparing itself to a DeepMind or something along those lines, right? Insofar as that similar capabilities, but open, purely open source. And the other thing that's more high profile from a sort of demo standpoint is the Sophia robot with Hanson Robotics. And so SingularityNET, and so that particular robot, a lot of its mental smarts are essentially powered by OpenCog and derivative open source machine learning frameworks and NLP frameworks. So point of the story is that with SingularityNET, you've got strong mathematical backend and then a demonstrable robot that is reasonably high profile. SingularityDAO, however, is the spinoff where now we are doing more of a fintech focused effort. However, there's a common theme that it's decentralized. And so since it's decentralized in a SingularityNET sense, that more means that crypto acts as a backbone to a decentralized AI, which by definition, philosophically, again, is trying to be less, giant corporatist and more, democratic AI. In SingularityDAO, the contrast is that now you have more of a financial focus in crypto. And this is the overlap with Imgesu's company. SingularityDAO is very different in the offering, but it's the overlap in the space insofar as that SingularityDAO is how do we use machine learning tools and AI tools to optimize the crypto experience, and crypto specifically in the crypto coins market and crypto coins and secondary coins, not just blockchain. So if you want to think of SingularityNET, think of it as blockchain with some coins that are non-profit focused, and then with SingularityDAO, we've got more of a financially focused and crypto focused effort. So SingularityDAO, to get now that we've kind of defined terms, SingularityDAO is again pure crypto play. SingularityDAO is an effort to democratize hedge funds. So think of it as a alternative asset investment. It is a I have to be careful about how I speak about it in financial terms, but suffice to say that it is a crypto investment vehicle. And what that means is that we are using a variety of techniques. And when I say variety of techniques, a long list of techniques and staff to provide excess returns in the market. So we're trying to outperform the benchmarks of Bitcoin performance, Bitcoin market performance, Ethereum market performance on altcoins, secondary coins. Imgesu's offering would tell you, what those benchmarks are in real time very well. And so those are the benchmarks. SingularityDAO has a flagship product called Dynasets, and Dynasets is now entering beta, now open beta. We were in closed beta last year. Now we're entering into open beta, and we expect that we know, and we're publicly announcing that, I think we've already publicly announced that the closed beta has been outperforming a reasonable amount, reasonable outperformance in the market, in the crypto markets. And we expect that the open beta will have even higher outperformance. The key thing in investments in crypto is that, and guess who can talk about this as much or better than I can, but the key thing in outperformance in crypto is that you can get excess returns, you can get great returns if you really do your research on, staking, right? So for those of you that may or may not know how that works, you stake your coins and then you get, you're promised back a certain interest rate. And what staking does in an Ethereum sense or some other blockchain sense is it allows the stakeholders, and it allows the network to sort of have more participation, more access as a network. But what you're getting back as a contributor is this fixed interest rate, and that can be much better than your normal interest rate. So that's what staking essentially is. And there are a variety of crypto projects that can provide really great returns. If they're too good to be true, it may be that because they're sort of just giving you, just giving you coins, but ultimately there's great opportunity for, upside on interest rates. The key is that and I'm sure Lisa probably is a better expert on this than I am. The key is that, how does it sort of long-term sustain its, how does that sustain itself? So we're certainly as a DeFi, right? SingularityDAO provides staking services. We provide launchpad services for projects, and so we're certainly supportive of that staking ecosystem and that staking economy. But what we're trying to do is to say, okay, staking is great. These amazing interest rates may be fantastic, but in a down market or in a highly fluctuated market, or some area where the crypto coins don't actually have a tangible value, and there's some sort of free fall or risk of what they call a rug pull, right, where the project just folds. Given that sort of those risks of instability, can we add financial methods, right, quantitative financial methods, machine learning, portfolio management, human trader intuition, the whole ball of wax that you would have in a normal hedge fund? Can we apply that to returns and move money around, move crypto around, since technically it's not fiat, but can we move that around such that we provide you with a more stable income, right, more stable return on your investment? And so that's the key delineator for Dynasets, for SDAO, is not that we think that we can sort of provide, thousands of percentage points on your APY, as they say. It's not that we're competing in that space. We are competing in a sort of tried and true, reduce the jitter, reduce the risk, provide some reasonable returns over time, up or down market irrespective. So back to AI, that's the product pitch. Back to AI, as Imge sort of finished with in her presentation, how does it relate to this? How does it, in particular, relate to AI LA? I mean, I think that what's interesting about it is just that we use a lot of hardcore quantitative methods. We've got a reasonable automated portfolio management scheme that is a fully autonomous sort of hedge fund in a box that we have deployed alongside our beta. We deploy human in the loop quite a bit, insofar as that we've got our crypto trading team in London and in Paris, and we've got this portfolio management system running off chain, as they call it, right? But that it's all sort of coalescing into a smart contract on chain system, and we're increasingly trying to shorten the human in the loop experience, right? So if the operator of the machine is clicking XYZ buttons, making fills, orders, etc., we're trying to reduce that down to as Imge brought up, a recommendation for a trade, a recommendation for a purchase, a recommendation for a trade execution, and we've already got to that point in our beta. And so by our 1.0 version, we're hoping that we will have most of this automated with a degree of confidence in the level of risk and the degree of confidence in the level of the risk reward structure. So we have a fully automated portfolio management system, and I think that might be interesting to you guys. And yeah, I mean, I think that's all I'm going to say about it, other than to wrap up and say that thanks for having me on. And I think that DeFi Trends is a very cool partner for SingularityDAO. I'm also an advisor on the project, and it's cool to be here with Imge. I guess we're over to Lisa.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing. Loved hearing your stories and diving deeper into your projects. I wanted to cover a couple discussion topics, for the people in the audience who might not be as familiar with AI or blockchain or DeFi. I wanted to really break down why the marriage of AI and DeFi is relevant and going beyond just DeFi. AI can help facilitate, massive amounts of data and can make our lives more efficient. So, to start, artificial intelligence is our extended brain. It allows machines to work efficiently to solve problems. And the blockchain is permissionless, it's trustless, and it's decentralized. And DeFi is a subset of that, and that's decentralized finance. And DeFi cuts out the middleman. It cuts out the middleman in financial transactions, as well as transactions between two parties. So that means there's more efficient exchanges, more secure transactions, and smart contracts execute on a basis of code that forms an agreement between two parties, and it lives on the blockchain. So some observations. So I think what I'll do is I'll take you through some observations, kind of what are the drivers of crypto value, how AI can assist with that, review some top AI coins according to CoinMarketCap, and then talk about kind of have an open discussion about new opportunities in DeFi and AI. Since this is a special interest group, I definitely want to hear from the group some burning questions we might have about how do you decentralize AI? How can we build interoperative bots, for example. So I think that what I've observed is that AI and DeFi has been extremely popular in facilitating crypto investing. So just some numbers, as of January 2022, there's been over 16,000 cryptocurrencies traded across multiple platforms. So can you imagine a human trying to sort through all of that data, all the coins, all the trends, all the patterns, all on their own? This is an opportunity where AI can come in. And why has this industry been so confusing? It's because there's so many coins to choose from. Tokens are volatile. People don't understand what are the drivers of value. And just from observing the market caps of these cryptocurrencies, some have little or no following or trading volume, but some have also exploded in popularity, right? You've got Bitcoin and Ethereum, you've got Dogecoin, you have some of the altcoins. I mean, we have so many more altcoins today, compared to 5 years ago. So a little background about me. I entered into the crypto space in 2016. I started taking Ethereum as rental payments in 2017, almost in ICO for my startup at the time, Office Book, which was the Airbnb for offices. I wanted to tokenize real estate. It just made sense because my background is in technology and the way we have been operating up until this point with central databases. I'm sure many people in the audience have had their systems hacked, their identity stolen, and it just is a very unpleasant experience. And so there's always this looming fear of, okay, is someone going to take my data or have a digital run in the bank? In crypto, because transactions live on a public ledger and is distributed on the network versus stored on one server, it's just more it's more secure, and it's more transparent because it's on a public ledger. You can't kind of make transactions on the DL because everything is traced to a wallet address. And so, a lot of times people who are getting into crypto, they want to also understand what drives the value. I kind of want to just kind of see a show of hands. How many people own cryptocurrency? I guess people they don't have their video up. So maybe just put it in the chat. If you own cryptocurrency, just put a little money sign or a currency emoji. There you go. Awesome. So for those who own cryptocurrency, what drives the value of your token? So there's kind of three major drivers of crypto value. There's the retail consumer, and it's the investors who purchase on the public market. So it's post-launch, you go to Coinbase or your exchange of choice, and you put in the token name or the abbreviation, and then you can buy it. But on the public market, there are a lot of swings in the market. And so for those who want to become more informed, then those might be people like you and I, some of the whales who get in early. We have access and information asymmetry to specific deals. So for example, you're either friends with the builders of the token, you might have built some kind of AI bot to track the vast amount of information that's out there, and you're able to pick up patterns and trends. You can also, just launch a token yourself. And so that's kind of some of the groups of people that are involved. You can also be a large institution. So for example, we've seen the trend that large institutions are starting to get more into crypto. You hear of news of this billionaire, that billionaire putting large sums of money into Bitcoin and other altcoins. So that has also been a trend to see, both large institutions and kind of large bag holders. And then you're starting to also see the trends of governments and regulatory bodies. And that also causes swings in the value of crypto. So for example, El Salvador making Bitcoin legal tender, and you have, when the China banned, everyone was freaking out. And it turns out that crypto is quite resilient. We've all experienced the crypto winter, and it bounced back. Last week, Russia's central bank proposed a ban on cryptocurrencies. So what do you think will happen next? Will crypto bounce back? I believe so, because we're all here as long-term holders or hodlers. We believe in the technology. We believe in the future of a digital global currency that's not in the hands of a central government or a handful of central governments. So what I've seen is that AI and DeFi has been the most popular in optimizing trades. So like SingularityDAO mentioned, they're democratizing AI for financial predictions, risk management, arbitrage, automated market making. And that's awesome. There's been a lot of more of these projects coming up. But I also wanted to give you some examples and other use cases of AI and crypto. So here are the top 5 AI coins according to CoinMarketCap. So number 1, the Graph. The Graph is an indexing protocol for organizing blockchain data to make it accessible with GraphQL. I personally am a holder of the Graph, so feel free to check it out. There's also Ocean Protocol. Ocean Protocol is a tokenized service layer that reveals data, compute storage, and it helps with unlocking information, especially for AI. So that can come in very handy for those who work with large sums of data. Fetch AI is a platform that associates IoT, the Internet of Things, and their devices with algorithms to empower collective learning. So they kind of help bring some of the connected devices, the data that's from hardware devices, and empower collective learning through the algorithms. Numeraire helps researchers anticipate financial models So what they do is they utilize encrypted data, and their goal is to outsource financial models without forfeiting the secrecy of their information. So they can crowdsource financial models, kind of encrypt the data so they kind of can keep the trade secrets while still being able to advance research. And then, obviously SingularityNET is a decentralized marketplace for AI algorithms. And so, yeah, so AI, I know we're having an AI and DeFi conversation, and that has kind of taken the reign of discussion, because everyone wants to deploy AI models for advanced financial trading and options and hunt down the best coins. Like that's awesome. That's super exciting. But there are other applications, right? AI can also assist with research. It can also assist with, IoT devices, right? There are many other sources of data. So really, the goal of AI is to, I like to just kind of repeat, it is our extended brain. We can leverage the power of AI to do large sums of calculations, but it also requires a very quality and extensive data set, especially when you want to move into machine learning. The machine has to learn from large sums of data. So I'm excited to see more machine learning models in the crypto world, especially since everything is still so new with all these new tokens. I can imagine that the total volume of cryptocurrencies will grow exponentially over time. And we will increasingly need AI to be our second eye, second brain, second workforce. So I'm excited to see what models will be built. Great. Oh, thank you so much, Federico, for texting the examples. So yeah, graph is GRT if you want to find them. There's another token that's going to be better than the graph, I believe, that's coming out of Asia. But when it's out, I'll let you guys know. So now I want to open up the floor to discuss kind of new opportunities in DeFi. Obviously, DeFi has revealed a lot of inefficiencies in our financial markets, like traditional financial models, and more people are moving to DeFi because it's faster and more efficient and more secure. And it has the ability to kind of untether, from central banks and can have a global impact and global scale. So yeah, I just want to open up the floor to Q&A for anyone who might have some ideas on, AI models or new cryptocurrencies that they've spotted or are building. We're all ears to hear about your ideas. Feel free to unmute yourself. You're a quiet group tonight.
Okay, so I guess I'll go. I'm Peter, and I guess my interest in AI is very different than cryptocurrencies or financial markets. If you think of what AI is, it's really a platform that is able to look at a lot of data and find a lot of trends that humans cannot possibly find. So one industry that's very interesting to me is the health industry. There's a lot of medical records and labeled scans. Like, for example, I believe that any image recognition in healthcare will pretty much be at first assisted by AI, and then it will be a lot of those jobs will go away eventually. So that's kind of what I'm interested in is healthcare. I think it can make a huge difference and huge impact in people's lives. There's going to be a lot of solutions found by AI. I don't want to get into it, but that's kind of my interest.
That's awesome to hear. Yeah, I think about healthcare data on the blockchain and then applying AI to that data and how powerful that can be.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh,
Happy.
okay, great. Well, thank you, and thank you very much for hosting that tonight. Very informative. And my question was, well, it's more of a question actually, and I'm seeing a lot of, as you mentioned, some protocols trying to deploy to collect data, from different people. And now, as seems, or as blockchain seems to be a growing field, a growing sector, my question would be, is there some sort of especially that now it's just reaching to a subsection of the population right now, to a very small section of the population. So how is there some sort of maybe consensus or some way that a lot of the companies should try to market some incentive that they're able to provide to the users of the protocols or to the users of the platforms to give as much data as possible so that they can build their their machine learning systems, let's say, I'm thinking.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for those protocols, that are attracting sets of data, they can have an offering or an API. A lot of those discussions probably happen in a Discord channel. So definitely check out all the different AI-based blockchain companies and tokens, and just join the chats, like be engaged. You could even request and make feature requests in some of these things, especially when the early projects, like when they're getting off the ground, they're very open to user feedback. So if there's something you want or need or want to see from them, this is kind of like early stages where they'll actually listen to what you have to say. It's not like you make a request with Google and they're like, that's just a ticket that's like thousands of lines behind. So don't be shy about making those requests. And right here we have Chris, we have Imge. So maybe this is a question for Chris. I think that is a question for Chris, because maybe his protocol or someone in his network could help.
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. So yeah, for us, I think that it's multifaceted. I sometimes jump in the group chat because, as Lisa just mentioned, we actually have we have smart users, right? I mean, I think that the crypto enthusiasts, by definition, tend to be, they tend to be doing their own research. They tend to be doing something that's cutting edge, right? So, I might be more of a machine learning and quantitative methods guy than hardcore crypto person, right? But I've been learning over the years. But my point would be that the crypto community, our specific community, to Lisa's point, does make a lot of suggestions, and I think that they hold us to be honest, right, on things. So that's one venue. As Lisa also mentioned, APIs are key, and so we have our own API that is not yet public because we're sort of optimizing it, but there's definitely going to be more publicly facing APIs, and I think that, as Lisa indicated, that's a key thing for the maturity of any project. I know that Imgesu's project is got similar roadmaps, right? So I do think that APIs, documentation, user communities, those are all things that are important for AI, crypto, or any Web3 project.
Good answer. Thank you. Imge, do you have anything to add to that? What DeFi trends do you see? What are the top DeFi trends of the week? Everyone's dying to know since the recent market correction.
Maybe we lost her for a minute.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm here. Can you repeat one more time?
Oh yeah, we're dying to know what are the DeFi trends of the week, and where do you see,
Oh yeah,
AI's
so
role
we
in it?
list. Yeah, so we actually list them on Twitter because we're creating the platform right now. And it's not easy, as you know, to have a consumer-facing product that has very intricate things. So it's the beta was out and then we closed it. But the findings that we have every single day, we actually post them on Twitter. So you can find them.
Can you
And
put
we
the
actually
Twitter
group
link
them.
in the chat, and then everyone can, I'll do
Yeah,
that for me too. I'll put my Twitter. Sometimes I'll do like metaverse musings and my observations on Web3. So you're welcome to follow me. I'm at twitter.com/.
that's our
Lisa
company
DEYU.
Twitter.
Yeah, this is why. Cool. And how do you see the role of AI kind of in the future of DeFi trends? Where do you see us trending this year?
My predictive models in my head say that it's going to become way more mainstream and easily used as we see the leaders and founders shift into more inclusivity of creating products that everyone can use, because if not, then it would just be like a boys club pretty much.
Right.
So right now, as me and Chris are pretty in the loop, like I'm at every conference chatting with all the founders and stuff. And then that's usually a lot of the feedback I'm giving. Not that it's bad feedback, it's just like, hey, let's make this more inclusive for people that are maybe not as tech savvy and or data scientists or blockchain engineers. So let's simplify things. So if we do this, we'll have mass adoption, and Web3 will be prevalent in our everyday lives, including, how we transact, how we get information. And a couple of the companies that you say, I actually use them as a SQL querying, like we use the graph, we have even a partnership with them. So while some people, invest and hold their coin, we actually use them.
That's amazing.
So their use cases are actually applied, and I in my everyday life interact with a lot of Web3 applications. And right now there's different segmentations of people. There's people that just hold for value because they think it's going to be more valuable in the future. That is correct. But there's also a very big group of people that are actually using Web3 applications for their everyday life. And I'm one of them. And I do think that as it's becoming more simplified, and yeah, there's actually I think you were talking about a new alternative to the graph KYVE. They're also doing indexing like the graph. So maybe you were talking about that, but there's going to be more, what I'm trying to get at is there's going to be more competitors and alternatives, and some are simplifying, and there will be, since it's just, there are less barriers to enter right now. So I see that it's like a new, during the .com era, really early .com.
Yeah.
Hopefully not a .com bubble, but a .com era.
Well, we're at the early stages of adoption. So it's like all these early adopters, but there's going to be a moment where we cross the chasm, and we're kind of approaching that jump, right? And so before mass adoption, I think there will be some kind of either token that is really popular or some kind of structure that makes it easy for people to enter, and hopefully not increasing regulation, because what we've seen in the pattern is that regulation has slowed down the growth of the adoption of tokens, and maybe there's more partnerships, with the regulatory bodies, because it's like they can't slow it down. Like there's so much momentum already, and it's the mass majority of people will be gathering virtually and transacting digitally. So you follow the people, you follow the trends, and that's where the money is going. So those are the trends that I'm seeing.
Hello.
Hi, Carter.
Hi. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. So I have another question. I think that one might be addressed to Chris directly, as it's more of a Dynaset question. And I might have misread it, but I remember reading a little bit of the white paper, and it says that there's a reward that you can get from providing equal amount of assets for any of the I think it might have been specifically for the Dynasing, actually, where if you're providing a equal amount of, let's say for example, equal amount of NewNet tokens and AGIX token, then as you're going to alleviate the work for the forge, then there's some sort of reward that you could get. But I think in the latest in the latest discussions that I've seen, it says that you can only provide one class of asset or one asset for any of the Dynaset that you decide to go to. So just wondering which one, or if it's something that's already set in stone, or there's a change coming.
Nope, that's a fantastic question, because we had that internal discussion. That's why we have beta, closed beta, open beta 1.0. The delineation of the betas is that, so let me go backwards to answer your question, right? Like, kind of in line with your question. So you're talking about the white paper. The white paper was predominantly written by Ben et al. Before I joined. Obviously, my mandate as incoming CTO is to sort of implement the white paper, implement it in a practical way, and/or try to improve it. And so we have at this point, in sort of entering into open beta, so the second phase of the launch of Dynasets, we're mostly hitting the marks, right, with the white paper, but not quite. And in some ways we've improved upon the original white paper. So we probably need to update the white paper, but the white paper is still not a bad reference. So given your question specifically to that Dynaset, in the beta, it was decided collectively that we would go with, as you said, 3 different tranches, 3 different buckets of individual contributions. And in that particular case, we just did that for simplicity and simplicity of kind of bookkeeping and tracking a process. Because again, as I mentioned in my spiel to you guys earlier, we're trying to go for sort of less jitter, right? And so we weren't chasing alpha. We were not, in the beginning, we were not chasing performance. We're chasing sort of stability and known process. So your question's fantastic, actually, because it flushes out, beta, closed beta, beta 1.0. In open beta, we will have a broader set of investments for Dynasets, and you'll have more options. And then by 1.0, you hopefully have much more coverage, right, like a mutual fund, and so that you're not stuck in just sort of a two asset trading pair. So great question. And yeah, that's basically one of the top 2 or 3 limitations of the beta. I think that it's worth talking about the other major limitation, not to expose dirty laundry, but it's the AI group, right? And the other big thing about our beta was that we didn't feel like we had the AI in the process is as streamlined as one would expect in terms of our representation. So we wanted to make sure that we were true to the community, true to our product offerings, and that by open beta the AI is running in parallel, and then by 1.0 that the AI is fully baked in. So those are the 2 big ones that I can see. Is your question was a limitation as to why we went with the closed beta? and then, you know, in terms of the Dynaset assets, and then also to the extent that AI was baked into the product offering.
Thanks. Great answer and great question. I saw Stephen Kwok ask the question, what are the applications of blockchain to supply chain management? I'm super excited about this because I've done supply chain management for hardware companies for 6+ years. I used to work in consumer electronics, and managing bill of materials, 1,000 line items of micro parts that are assembled into a part it's challenging. Tracking the quality of each part that is, you know, part of the shipping cycle, right? So I think supply chain it can help with, you know, manufacturing, delivery, all the parts that are coming together before assembly. It can help with version tracking. It can help with bill of materials management. Supply chain management applications can also help with the food supply chain. Think of all, you know, we have a shortage of food in certain areas of the world and a plethora of food in certain areas of the world. You know, can we trace better quality sources of food? I think, you know, supply chain management can also apply for distribution of anything. It could be, you know, distribution of medicine, of supplements, of clothing, right? When you think about physical goods, I think being able to trace and track on the blockchain is very powerful, especially when you're talking about quality and the source. I mean, you read articles about, what do they say? Like there's like, you know, baby food that's like made of like cardboard, and then they just make money off of it, and it's not even food. Like that couldn't happen if there was quality control on the blockchain. Everything is stamped because you're going to trace on a public ledger where that source came from before it was bottled, and then you can hold that person accountable. So I think the blockchain really also forces accountability when it comes to both supply chain and financial transactions. So great question. I'm excited about ways that blockchain can fix supply chain and the movement of goods.
I have a broad question, and that would be, you know, I see so much of the promise with both, you know, DeFi, Web 3.0. They all sound like the promise of the internet from the 90s, which is, this is going to be fantastic. It's going to be decentralized. You can have servers talking to other servers, and you don't need one central mail carrier or telephone company to handle your conversations and communications. Yet we find ourselves now, you know, 30 years later, where we have a highly centralized internet, where companies like Amazon, Google, you know, Facebook, Twitter, so on and so forth, that there's just these small number of organizations that truly control all of it. And what do you see as preventing that? Because the way I see it from the perspective of looking at a lot of the VC firms and private equity, they are just very excited to get their hands on Web 3.0, and it's not to keep it small and decentralized, I suspect. But
Right. I'm happy to offer my views, and I definitely want to hear from the group as well. So it's a little history lesson, right? Web 1 was static web. You have a web page with data, maybe there's an address and a phone number. It's just a digital storefront. That's kind of Web 1. Maybe blogs, just written content. Nothing really interactive or exciting about Web 1. Web 2 was between 2004 up until now, right? Which is the era of the social web, the interactive web, you know, the e-commerce boom, right? You saw Shopify was booming, Amazon is booming. You had all the sharing economy. You've got the Ubers, the Lyfts, the, you know, the Airbnbs of the world. You have massive, you know, booms in different types of content creation. And now it's interactive, right? It can go both ways. Now, the problem with Web 2 that's fundamentally flawed is that there was these tech giants wanted to own all of your data. And so, yes, a lot of these products were free, but if you're not paying for the product, you are the product. Your data is being collected. You're constantly being tracked. Like, these companies know where you live, where you shop, what you do, where you're going. It listens in on your conversations. And so I think that, and then in Web 3, so Web 2 was democratization of information. That was exciting, right? Because now with Google, you can search for anything, you can learn anything online. So really the Web 2 era was the democratization of information. We're entering into an era of the democratization of ownership and value. So in the last era, Web 2, ownership is in the hands of the few. And the promise of Web 3 is that there will be democratization of ownership. So for example, if instead of something being owned by a central authority, it can be owned collectively by a group of people. These, case in point, decentralized autonomous organizations can collectively own, something that they're passionate about. So that's kind of what I'm seeing as the biggest shift. Yes, it's still the promise of democratization. It's just graduating to the next stage. I definitely want to hear your thoughts on, and I do agree with you. Like, some of these big tech companies are still trying to maintain the grip and ownership as much as they can. And so there's these half-breeds. It's like decentralized, but it's still kind of centralized. I mean, it's like OpenSea. It's still centralizing tokens that are decentralized. So it's it's still there's going to be a lot of hybrid solutions, because the transition is going to be, it takes time to transition fully, right? So there's going to be some half-breeds before we fully transition to decentralization of ownership, because we're still living in a centralized server world, right? So it will take time.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And me and Chris were actually chatting about this topic in Data in the Decentralized World panel at the North American Bitcoin Conference about the differences between Web 2 and Web 3 and our hybrid models, because essentially our company, we use both. We use centralized storage, data storage, as well as decentralized Web 3 components. So we have both Web 2 components and Web 3, just for the simplicity of it. And Chris can also expand on this topic too. And my other opinion is, when we do transition into a completely Web 3 society, we, in my opinion, and this can be, debatable, will essentially still be kind of centralized at the end too. Just my opinion. This is a controversial topic, but I always talk about it. But yeah, I think when we have mass adoption, it will transition completely into Web 3. Yeah, that's my point.
Yeah, I mean, here's a philosophical question. How do you decentralize AI, right? Are you going to spread their algorithms across multiple servers? Is it going to be on-chain or off-chain? There's still some element of some unified processing. Yes, you can lighten the load. I mean, I definitely recommend you process things off-chain so you're not paying so much for gas fees, and then merging the two. I mean, it requires a lot of complex math and on-chain, off-chain analysis and merging of data sources just to even make both worlds coexist. And you're not going to just let go of all the data that we've collected in Web 2. You kind of have to migrate it over. So I definitely want to hear Chris's thoughts on it, because that's the whole point of Singularity DAO, right?
Yeah, the point of SingularityNET would be the sort of decentralized AI component. Yeah, I mean, this is clearly a tough one, right? It's a tough one because of all the different forces happening. I mean, to your points earlier, technologically, I completely agree that it's a Web 2.0 world now that needs to transition over. As Imge was saying at the Bitcoin conference, we were talking about how we were using it. We still have to use it, and as Lisa knows, and all the projects she's affiliated with, they still have to use web servers, and they still have to use, servers by definition, not federated services, right? So there is that, but yeah, in the other two wrinkles I talk about would be AI and then sort of the economic side. On the AI side, you can have federated learning and federated delivery. I was very proud to be part of that in the healthcare space, actually, to the earlier members' comments. I'm usually a two-trick pony in that I do finance, but I also do healthcare. And that's what I'm known for. I'd say in the AI community the most is AI in healthcare. And in that particular way, yeah, you can decentralize that quite a bit as a concerted effort. To Lisa's point about SNet and Singularity as an ecosystem, we are trying to decentralize access as well as decentralize deployment. I think we need to do a better job, but the sort of gravitas is there, and the amount of technical capability is there. We have dozens of scientists that are affiliated with the project, and dozens and dozens of algorithms for choices, dozens and dozens of data sets. And I think it's just a question of, in the technical term, it's called data catalog, and how do you really make data and services available to people. But I guess for me, the sort of touch point to the earlier question is economically what happens, right? Economically, what happens is there's centralization of resources. And so, in Lisa's world, she knows very well that the bifurcation that it seems that is happening is that it's the DAO side versus the commercial side. And SingularityNET is pretty nonprofit DAO-like. SingularityDAO has a LTD that has some of the financial intellectual property, and then there's the DAO, which benefits from the distributed hedge fund. But the DAO would be sort of what you would think of it as a nonprofit. So why I'm going down that road is to basically stress that I think that the world is going to kind of bifurcate into a kind of a duplication of what we've seen already with Web 2, and then also the DAO side and the democratized governance, really fulfilling the promise that Lisa's bringing up with the future of and true promise of Web 3. So I mean, that would be my 2 cents.
Can you explain for the audience bifurcation and also the difference between SingularityNET and SingularityDAO, just in case people are wondering?
Sure. Yeah, bifurcation is probably a geeky scientific term. Just meaning that I would say that it splits, right? That it splits between sort of the classical world that we know and a more distributed and democratic, actively democratic process through governance, and governance meaning voting, right? So people having that voting capability for projects, whereas obviously commercial enterprise tends to be very centralized. So that's the split that I was talking about. And to the question about SNet versus SDAO, again, SNet, let's start there. SNet is the parent organization that has been around since prior to 2017, founded by my friend Ben Goertzel. And that is the mandate there is decentralized and distributed AI. So Ben had been doing AI since, for 30 plus years at this point. And the idea and the distinct idea for SingularityNET, hence the name, was that it was going to be a network that was going to facilitate distributed AI, federated AI, democratized AI. And that's why if you go to SingularityNET, it's a AI marketplace. We collectively still support that vision, and we're trying to make it more accessible and simultaneously accessible and useful to the public, and just generally, increase the utility of that decentralized AI to people. SDAO, however, Singularity DAO, is the spinoff, and SingularityDAO is just the crypto-focused, hedge fund-focused component of the Singularity ecosystem. And SingularityDAO started out as a sort of more standard DeFi, doing staking and launch pads and token bridges and all the sort of utility functions that you would expect in a modern DeFi platform. But the flagship product and the distinguishing product is this Dynaset product that the earlier question was about, and so Dynaset's beta, open beta, closed beta 1.0 is the roadmap that we've been talking about.
And how can people join the Singularity DAO?
So with Singularity DAO, you can go to singularitydao.ai, or you can Google us. I think we're also linkable through the SingularityNET website. And there should be a mobile app as well that you can use. I would say that as a token that I don't know if it's listed on Binance yet. We do a lot of things with Binance, but if people use Binance for purchasing things, they may have some issues.
The Binance US app is terrible.
Yeah. So
they need to do some redesign, fixing the whole thing.
Yeah. So I don't know if Binance is the best solution to get our token, but I know
where
that
else can people get your token?
We're on KuCoin, and if people are really hardcore, Uniswap.
Uniswap.
Yeah. So but yeah, we're always getting listed on more and more exchanges. We've only been around 6 months or 6 or 7 months, as you know. So
oh, congrats. That's super new.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
What is the process of getting on one of the exchanges? And do you get to choose where you show up? Do they choose you?
Yeah, I think it's a negotiation. From my tangential involvement in that process, it seems like it's a negotiation, and also what your market cap is, what your market cap is, what the utility is, what the distinguishing factor is. In the case of Coinbase and other things, are you a partner? So there's a financial
do you know people inside?
Yeah. Have you paid your dues?
Mm-hmm. So where do you see Singularity DAO in the next 5-10 years? Where would you want to take it?
So with Singularity DAO in particular, we're trying to really fulfill the promises of what you were talking about earlier with the promise of AI plus DeFi, right? I mean, I think that's the mandate, is to try to build a brand that is actually providing AI powered portfolios consistently to provide value for the users. I think we're doing well from out of the blocks, right? Like you said, super new, and we're already, just over 6 months old. We're still, we're now actually delivering returns to people that are our early beta users. So I mean,
incredible. What are your return track record, for example?
I think we have a press release coming out in a day or two, but it's in the teens over the baseline. So if you just invest in BTC or ETH, you would be if you invested with us on those assets, we would rebalance them in a way that has positive returns in the teens.
Do you also help people kind of mitigate the risk? So when the whole market crashes, are the bots protecting the floor so people don't lose so much money? I think that's what people are dying to know.
Yeah, exactly. Well, right, and that from a math standpoint, that's why I joined, right? I mean, that's kind of why I joined, to sort of bring that in. And technically how it works is that it's bots providing signals and humans providing, hey, get out of, the bot saying that this is happening, and the human
red flag, alert, alert, get out, pull out of this position.
And the humans makes the transaction, right? And so that's how it technically works right now. But yes, exactly. I mean, I think that is the way to look at Singularity DAO versus, I mean, if you're just looking at absolute returns, then everybody on this call, Lisa already knows, and guess who already knows, but everybody on the call should know, like, hey, if you're just looking for absolute returns, do your research, go to DeFi trends, figure out what the coolest staking highest percentage APY is, and then just put your money there, and then roll your dice, hope that it's not, going to collapse in 6 months, and then take all your winnings. If you're going for some high risk, high reward strategy, that's a smart strategy. If you're looking to sort of do asset protection, then Singularity DAO is more in that space. Singularity DAO, we're trying to specifically, I mean, our biggest win recently is that it is a little bit of a correction, that there has been a little bit of a dip, and that we are outperforming the bear market, right? So that's been our thing, I'd say, so far. But to your earlier question about the kind of 5 years or the multi-year plan, I mean, I think that obviously, like any financial instrument, we need to keep that performance up, and we need to keep that expectation there, and so that we're not, losing people's money, right? That would be my fantasy for Singularity DAO, is that it never loses money.
Yes. Well, great. Thank you so much for summarizing kind of, some people can use DeFi trends, and some people might want to join Singularity. There's something for everyone here. So that's kind of the conclusion of our conversation. I know we're a little bit over time, but yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for joining this call. It's been really informative. And if you have any more questions, post it in the chat. Todd, I think he'll probably send out a recap or